In this section, I'm going to show you how to add a paper texture to the label, and we're going to use the UV map for that, and we're going to add another group folder in the Photoshop file just for the paper texture, and I'll show you how to build the Photoshop file of the image texture of this bottle label so that you can have different channels in the same Photoshop file. You can use that as main texture for all channels for a material. So if we go and open up the beer label material, the texture of the beer label image is right here in the color channel. And what we're going to do is actually add a bump channel right here to this material. And what bump channels do is they add the illusion of texture. They don't actually add fine detail to a polygon image. They don't actually create new polygons, but they create the kind of image of that. And it's a really useful way of adding really fine detail to objects without physically changing the model at all. And you'll see what I mean when we add another texture. So what I'm going to do is go to Photoshop and open this file. And here it is. We have the image of the label, and that's it. And what I want to do, just to organize this better, is I'm going to add a group folder in Photoshop, and I'm going to add the color channel into that. And I'm just going to rename this color channel, because what we're going to do on top of that is add a bump channel. So I'm going to go to Google and just look for a paper texture. Go to images, and let's see. I think I like this one. Save that image. Go in here. I'm just going to place the image. I'm just going to make it as big as the label. Right click and rasterize it so it's just an image, not a smart object. Put it in the bump channel folder. And it's underneath the label right now. You can see right here. There it is. And that's fine. We save the Photoshop file, and the alpha channel for the label is derived from the color channel. So this stuff will be cut off, because the alpha channel is this basically. And the cool part is we can go back to Cinema, and if I go in here and I do reload image, it's going to disappear because now I have to select the layer now that things have been changed. And if I go back in here, now that I've hit reload, this has all been updated. So I can select this right here. It's going to still be empty because we have to redefine the alpha channel as well, because right now it doesn't know where it went. It's all black. So we go in here and go to the color channel again, select this, make sure generate alpha is checked, hit OK. Boom, and now it's back. Perfect. So now what we can do is go in here and copy this channel, which is just the Photoshop file, go to the bump, and paste it into the bump channel. Now it's not going to do anything until we go into the image itself, go to Layer Set, hit Select, expand the bump channel folder, and select that. Hit OK. Now you can see how it's a white image. This doesn't change at all because a bump channel is derived from the black and white values of the image. So if we zoom in, you can now see there's a texture on this bottle. We'll hit the shortcut, which is Alt-R for the interactive render region, and now you can see right now there's a very fine paper detail on this label. I'm going to go to the bottle glass and uncheck transparency so the render goes faster. Look at that. I mean, it's very subtle, but it's one of those things where it adds a ton of realism as those little small touches get added up. The realism starts to show up. So that's almost, I mean, I like it. It's subtle enough. It's almost too subtle. Let me just turn it up to show you what the difference is. So if I turn the strength up to 70%, now it's really apparent. It's almost like leather. You can see how it adds to that. That's really apparent. But I do like where it's going. I like that. I think that's nice. As far as the texture itself, I think it's obviously too strong, but I like where it's going. So I'm just gonna turn the strength back down, maybe to 25%, not just 20% like by default. And that's starting to look really nice. It's a nice subtle thing that's going on there. Maybe 30% actually. One thing we haven't really messed with on this label is the reflectance, how it behaves with lights. So if you go to reflectance and then check the default specular, it's by default this Blinn Legacy, which is very boring. And I'm just going to go to GGX again. You can see how it changes that. It's obviously too shiny, but I like where it's going. You can do like maybe 2% reflection strength and then turn down the specular strength. And so now the easiest way to tell how this is working is to turn the roughness down to maybe 5%. So now you can see where the light's actually hitting. So I'm gonna, let's see, just angle this so the light hits it more. We can start to judge how the light hits it. So that's, I mean, that's kind of cool, but that's definitely not what a paper label does. So if we just turn the roughness up to maybe 25%, see how that looks. That's not bad. And the specular strength's a little bit too high. Turn it down to 5 maybe. And that's okay. It's still a little bit too shiny, but it's getting there. So I'm going to turn the roughness up to 40%. And then that's close. I kind of like it. Maybe 35% and maybe 6% on the specular. Maybe 7%. Maybe back to 40 on this roughness. I don't know. It's too much. 38. I like where it's heading, and I like the bump texture. I think that's nice. So now if we come back to this, you can't really tell in that angle, which is fine because it doesn't need to always be amazing. What's important is we've looked at it and we've determined the way it should look. And maybe when it's directly on the light, it might actually be a little bit more. It might actually be 35 and 10%. It's all very small movements. I'm kind of liking that more because you look right here to see where that light hits the most. This could actually be maybe 14%. It's a little bit too much. Maybe 12%. Okay. It's just tiny moves, but it's definitely getting there. Okay, cool. So the nice part is we know how this paper is going to look with this bump channel. I'm just going to use that same image for the 6-pack case, that same paper texture image for the bump channel of the 6-pack case. But we'll do that later. For now, I'm just going to really refine this beer bottle because we're very close. The only thing that's really missing it now is the way the glass behaves. And actually seeing it without transparency is useful right now, because this color, I think, is kind of messing with it. I think it would be a little bit darker. The way that it makes it, see, if you make it all the way dark like that, then it's all just pure reflection, which, you know, in a way really kind of is glass. It's reflection and it's refraction put together. So I think a darker color channel does add something, or actually take away something to the material, which is important. So in the reflectance channel, we've already kind of messed with the glass setting or the glass reflection. I do want to do one thing that I think will add just a nice, obviously one more of those small touches to make it photoreal. If you go to layer Fresnel, now Fresnel is this interesting phenomenon that's real, where basically the more direct the polygon faces are facing the camera, the less reflection there is. So on the edges of an object is more reflective than the frontal parts of the object, and that depends on how it is facing the camera or facing the object that you're looking from. So layer Fresnel is a really useful way to add some more realism, and one of the things that they do in here is there's two different types of Fresnel: dielectric and conductor. Now conductor is metal. These are all metallic Fresnels. So when you have chrome or silver, they have specific, actually they have refraction settings, and these are all presets for those settings. And the other Fresnel, which we'll be using, is dielectric, and that consists of, you know, liquids and transparent solids like diamonds and emeralds and everything. So one thing you can set right here is a glass Fresnel, and that adds a, you know, it's just one of those things where it adds a touch of, one of those small touches of realism. So if we turn the color down to dark gray, and we turn the reflectance of the glass to these settings, and we've added a Fresnel with its own IOR, we can turn transparency back on and see how that behaves. That's not too bad. One thing that's happening is I think the color of the glass actually is affecting a little bit too much the way the light behaves inside of it. So if we turn this up to just middle gray, or make the value itself just 50%, it's going to help with the way the light behaves through it. That seems nice. I'm going to turn this up to 40%. Or sorry, I'm going to turn it up to 60%. That's almost too much. I'm going to do 55. Leave it there for now. This stuff right here, this is just low quality render settings messing this up right now. Because one thing I haven't even touched are the render settings. So right now we are on the very default, most basic render settings, standard. And if you go in here to anti-aliasing, it's set to geometry, which is the lowest. You know, if we go to physical render, there's a lot more there. So this is the very bottom level of render settings, and it's why we have this right here. So I'm gonna just slow this. I'm gonna make this window this size right now, and I'm just gonna show you what anti-aliasing does to increase the quality of this image. So if we change anti-aliasing from geometry to best and change the filter from cubic to Mitchell, look at the quality of how this changes. Okay, so it's very subtle, but there's some quality differences here and here. It's another one of those things that make it a lot more realistic. They aren't obvious right away, but they do add a lot. So in the next section, I'm going to refine the 6-pack case, and we're going to start getting into some better quality render settings and some other better quality lighting situations too. So see you then.